Welcome, my friends, to the Sage of Quay Radio Hour, your home for free and critical thinking, and I'm your host, Mike Williams. Tonight, Ole Dammegård returns to the show to talk to us about the 2015 Open Mind Conference, which is scheduled for June 6th and 7th in Amsterdam, where Ole is one of the keynote speakers. The information presented during the conference is mostly uncovered in the mainstream media. Subjects to be discussed will include the September 11th attacks, Zionism, false flag terrorism, geoengineering, the financial banking system, geopolitics, Freemasonry, and much more. For this show, Ole gives us a preview of the Open Mind Conference topics. We discussed the US Assassination Squad called Operation 40, 9/11, false flags, Zionism, and how humanity, by awakening to the Matrix, is changing the world for the better. Ole's research is completely self-funded, so if you could take a moment after the show and visit his website, lightonconspiracies.com, and consider donating or sponsoring his work, it would be greatly appreciated. To kick things off, I asked Ole if he could expand some more on Operation 40, a topic we discussed in his last visit to the show. And here is what he had to say.
Like we mentioned before, I spent like 30 years trying to identify assassins to expose what is really going on. The big political assassinations like JFK, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and so on, but also big so-called terror acts as 9/11, Oklahoma City, and so on, which when you really look into them, you will find out that these are inside jobs again and again and again, carried out, ordered by a small little elite few. They call themselves the elite, I call them the minority, but by the same super criminal little group of people, actually using the same people to carry out these very violent acts. And this is why Operation 40 has become like a red thread that ties the whole thing together. So many different assassinations and terror acts that seems like they're totally separate, or I'm doing everything I can to show the proof of that they're carried out by the same small group. A core group that has been used for decades and decades. These guys are in their 70s and 80s now, the few of them that are still alive, but it's just incredible. Some of them are still active. So this is why I've focused so much to try and expose this Operation 40.
And of course, Ole, they must have a pipeline of younger folks coming in to replace those guys that are getting old now that can no longer do what they used to do.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, totally. Operation 40 was just the first name they were created under, but they have been a core group in so many of these operations and scandals and military coups and so on. But just like you say, they've been used as instructors, trainees, but also legends to carry these things out. Operation 40 was very central in the assassination of JFK. And that lifted them to like stardom level in the area of assassinations, and because of that, their career went up. They were used in many of the major operations because they had proven their loyalty, they had proven their skill, and so on. And because of that, this is my interpretation. I just see that the same names keep popping up. And this is why I asked if you would be okay with if we do a second part, because in the first part we went through some of the members, what they were involved in. I can just go very quickly through them.
Sure.
Like the whole idea was that in the late 50s, early 60s, that Dwight Eisenhower, under the supervision of Dwight Eisenhower, he was approached by people in the CIA and military industrial complex and big companies and so on, that came up with the idea, why don't we create an ultra secret team of assassins that can be used to take out whatever enemy, problem, politician, whoever stands in our way. We can just use this team. Nobody will ever know that they exist, and we can just use them globally to get rid of people and obstacles. And so people like Alan Dulles was involved, other CIA top officials, and they gave the task was given to Vice President Richard Nixon, who then approached three people, old veterans in the CIA, David Atlee Phillips, E. Howard Hunt, and Ted Shackley. These were the main spiders in this whole thing. And Ted Shackley He was also known as the Blonde Ghost, very involved in the JFK assassination. Also, the chief of the JM Wave Station, the JM Wave Station in Miami, which was at that point the biggest CIA base in the world. This Ted Shackley he was later, his career went just up, and in the end he took over after his colleague David Atlee Phillips as the director of a covert operation for the Western Hemisphere. That is a major area for operations. He was very central in the whole Operation Phoenix assassination program in Vietnam, where they killed thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And this is someone that keeps popping up everywhere. He was also, I'm just going to go through some of these characters. He was also overheard by James Files, who was very closely associated to Operation 40. And according to my research, the shooter behind the picket fence, one of the people that fired the final headshot, because I believe there was more than one that hit Kennedy at the same time. But James Files said that he overheard Ted Shackley say that they dumped the body of JFK out at seas to get rid of it. So that what we are looking at if you go to the Arlington Cemetery, is an empty grave. Quite a statement, I would say.
It's unbelievable.
Anyway, E. Howard Hunt was very deeply involved in the Bay of Pigs invasion with the exiled Cubans. He was also very central in the assassination of Kennedy. I would say he was one of the group leaders for one of the hit teams. There was more than triangular fire, and people like Ruby and E. Howard Hunt and so on, they were taking care of different parts of this whole hit. He was also later very central in the so-called Watergate scandal, where all the so-called Watergate burglars were members of Operation 40, except for James McCoy, as far as I know. But the reason why they were there doing this break-in was to get rid of evidence that would prove Richard Nixon's involvement in the JFK assassination, because both he, Lyndon Baines Johnson, president that later became Johnson, and other future presidents were directly involved in the assassination or the cover-up of it in the in the Warren Commission and so on. So what we're looking at with the JFK assassination was a coup d'etat that took place right in front of our eyes, and most people not understanding that this very, very brutal war machine that took over that day has stayed in power ever since, just changing the front cover, another pretty face on the cover, another pretty face. And most of the people in this position as so-called president have just been there as puppets. I do not include George Bush Sr. When I say that, but many of the other ones, including Barack Obama, is, in my humble opinion, a pretty cover, just another pretty face in front of this very, very deadly war machine that is just pushing forward just because we're allowing it, because we've been totally asleep.
I think you're absolutely right, Ole, that they are all front men. They're cover for all of the for the shadow government that is behind them. When you really think about it, it's very, very alarming when you think about that. Most people believe that the guy that sits in the Oval Office in the White House, that the buck stops there. And the truth of the matter is, that is the furthest thing from the truth that you can possibly conjure up.
It is very painful to wake up to the facts of, I've been down this road for 30 years now. It is a very painful experience to more and more find out that, oh my God, I've been totally duped and manipulated and lied to. And a lot of these things that I've thought that I knew and that I based my knowledge on, and I put my reputation on the line sometimes, and I got into arguments and all, it's just based on absolute lies.
Yeah.
So, but I think we're at a time where it's a beautiful time to open up to these facts, because we're no longer in a position where there's a choice. We need to wake up now, because these dark forces are moving forward very fast. They are not sort of just playing around. They have a very strict timeline, and they are moving forward. Yet again, even though it looks very scary, I would say beautiful time to be alive, but not a time to pick your belly button and order another pizza. This is the time to step up, step into the role that you have been given by life. That role is not a violent role. It is an awake state. To wake up to the fact, what the hell is going on? And also see that even though it's painful, how much evidence is needed before you react. It's like the boiling frog syndrome. The frog won't get out because it's just one degree at a time that the steam, that the heat just goes up, 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 up. And but once you wake up, if you don't wake up, it's too late.
Yeah, you're cooked.
You're fried, boiled, or whatever, and served on a plate. And the thing is that I'm not here to freak people out. On the contrary, I come in peace and love, compassion, forgiveness, these things. At the same time, we need to get in gear. This is a time to really not just talk anymore, but to really start to wake up to the fact that we have been hijacked. Our governments that are supposed to protect us are totally bought. The police, the government, if everybody did what they're supposed to do, what we believe that they're there for, everything would be great. But we are at a point in history where we just have to understand that history is written by the victors. You will only see a one-sided image of the whole thing. And these powers are masters of manipulation. And they're hitting us from all different directions and hiding it with the biggest propaganda machine you've ever been up against. So don't feel bad if you haven't been aware of these things. No wonder, because we are being super manipulated and kept asleep in all possible ways through chemtrails and fluoride water and TV commercials and propaganda through the screen of music, wherever, from all different directions. This is a time we really need not to just listen to programs but also act.
The ace up their sleeve when we talk about the dark forces is they have no hesitation in lying, in being deceitful. And of course, most human beings really are not liars and not deceptive. So there's a level of trust. And so what these dark forces do is they take advantage of that trust by just blatantly lying and deceiving. It's really evil.
It is apparently necessary for us to wake up, because we should have woken up like a couple of 100 years ago, just saying, come on, guys, you must be joking. I'm not buying this crap. But apparently we were just fine with it, and we just accepted it, them turning, the strangle grip around our throats, just one centigrade at a time, one click at a time, click, 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 not understanding what's going on. And once again, because we've been asleep.
Yeah.
We have been totally asleep, because a lot of these things that I've been devoting my life to are no-brainers. They really are no-brainers. I mean, to take a 757 and stuff it into a hole in the Pentagon the size of a missile, you do not have to be super intelligent to say, how did they manage to do that? I cannot understand that. And if you have that type of technique where you can just fold a plane like that, that would be excellent for airports. We can just pack them in a long row. Excellent. That would save price. We could get the ticket prices down. Excellent. Share it with us, And at the same time, fantastic to get rid of a plane, no wreck parts, no nothing. That is fantastic. Let's use this technology. But here we are, the biggest buildings almost in the world that turns into dust. I mean, how is it done? And people are, no, it was because of planes crashing. Well, I'm sorry, they were constructed to take the impact of that fun. They wouldn't even shake, There would be these planes are made of aluminum. It's like a can. They get damaged by a bird.
Right.
And here they are. They go straight into these buildings and dustify them. And also, just as a small small little argument. How come 1,600 cars turn on fire in a massive big area around these buildings? How come only paper and aluminum survived the whole thing? Where are all the bodies? Where are all the furniture? Where did they go? No, it was fire. I'm sorry, wakey, wakey, it was not. I don't know the answer for what was used. I think it was a combination of many different techniques and high technology weapons. I mean, but I can tell you one thing: it was not directed by somebody in a cave in Afghanistan who couldn't hardly comb his beard because there was too much dust and sand going on there. This was high tech, super duper. That was just hit right in the heart of us, in the symbol of your country, to get the emotional reaction. Oh my God, something needs to be done. And here we come in from the left on stage. The war on terror. Let's go to the war on terror. A war that can go on forever because there's no enemy out there.
Well, and they said that. They said that the war on terror can go on for decades. They said that in the very
I know.
beginning. And
Centuries.
yeah, I mean, you basically have a war on a tactic, so try to figure that one out.
It's excellent manipulation. I mean, you're a hypnotist. That is a good one. And to pull it off, it's without us reacting. My God, it's just incredible. You have to applaud them when it comes to some of these things.
Oh, I mean, their tactics are brilliant. I mean, they like you said, they really, really know how to manipulate the human mind and to move their ball forward. And you were talking, Ole, about the energy weapons, and I'm assuming that you're familiar with Dr. Judy Wood and her.
Yes, of
Yes,
course.
I would recommend that anybody listening to this, and I'll put a link down below in the show notes to one presentation that I watched, which was about 2 hours long, where Judy Wood presented her theory. And I'll tell you what, after watching that, it was very difficult to sit there and think that that is not what happened.
Do you know the beauty with Judy Wood is she's not pointing any blaming fingers. She's not saying it was the Afghanis, it was the Saudis, it was the Israeli, it was the CIA. She does not go there at all.
Right.
She says how she's looking into the scientific evidence. What happened? How could they do a thing like what could twist these like steel bars that are so, I mean, it's, you cannot imagine the power it would take to just to twist them, and they've just curled up like pasta screws, like macaroni. I mean, the whole thing, when you look at it from a scientific point of view, I really recommend, just like you, her book, Where Did the Towers Go?
Right.
Go through that one, and you will just find yourself sitting with your jaw in your lap saying, oh my God, what really happened? And I'm saying super duper, because when this whole thing turns around, which I think will happen in a near future, I think they're going down big time, even though it looks extremely scary at the moment. But then we will come to a point where suddenly this type of technology could hopefully be turned around and used for humanity, because it is extremely powerful. And I don't think the world has ever seen that technology being used before. I think we saw when the government building in Oslo was blown up by a lone crazy guy, as they always are, and then followed by the mass shooting of a lot of youngsters out on an island in Norway. A similar technique was used there, because we have the same type of thing, very, very odd. Well, the whole thing, there's no explosion. There's all of these very strange damages to buildings, no sound, no, all of this. These things have been added afterwards. So I think that they started with 9/11, and then they've used it in a smaller scale on other occasions.
Yeah, and people have to get their heads wrapped around the fact that what they believe is science fiction is here and now.
I tell you, I've never been into science fiction. So I've always thought it was boring. But then I started looking around and seeing the world I'm living in, and it's just like you say, oh my God, it's already here. We are in it.
Yeah, well, I mean, what do you think they're doing with all those dollars that they're funneling to black projects? I mean, they're spending it on something. So, and I think that this type of technology, at least the technology that Judy Wood is proposing or speculating may have been used during 9/11, it exists. That they developed this type of technology, and it is in play.
this is, I think, during the Ronald Reagan time, he was trying to get the outer space threat and all of these things, to get these type of weapons in development. And then it's just been, I really think, what's the name? Independence Day with Will Smith.
Will Smith,
something like that. I don't know, I can't remember the film, but some kind of energy weapon from above in combination with mini nukes and controlled demolition, and the whole shebang was in move or in position this day, because I think they had like alternative plans as well, because they had never pulled a thing like this off before, so they couldn't be totally sure that it would work. At least I don't know if they've ever tried to on any scale like this. I've never heard of it. So I think that they had explosives in position, controlled demolition in position. Should something be, maybe some halfway down the building would maybe just stop, or the reaction would just stop. So they needed to back it up. So I think this is what we see. This is what the witnesses are talking about, all these explosions in the basement. And that was first, the traditional controlled demolition. That whole thing took place as well to get the whole foundation going. And then boom, it came from above. But also with all of these explosions in the meantime. And you can see some of these massive big steel beams, they're cut in perfect length, so that they can just be lifted right up on a truck, cut diagonal, just like they do in controlled demolition, and perfectly outlined so that you could just load them straight on trucks and take them away.
Building 7 was, anybody watching Building 7, if you just put your thinking cap on, it was a controlled demolition, and no plane hit Building 7. They want to chalk it up to a couple of fires on some of the floors. That building did not fall because of a couple of fires that broke out on some of the upper floors. That building was taken out. That building was a controlled demolition, period.
Yeah, and that you will see on the different buildings. I mean, it's not only the two main towers. There were other towers that went down this day as well. But Building 7, there you don't have this high energy weapon. It's total controlled demolition, I would say. That is a super, just pull the building, poof, going down. And you had on the street level, police officer were coming out, please back, she's coming down soon, And you have Silverstein with his beautiful little interview. And then we decided to pull the building. That one on its own should just, like, my God, put this guy behind bars for the next 200 years and start checking out who else was involved. But no, I'm sorry. It was just a misuse of words. He said it exactly the way it was done. How arrogant or whatever, I don't know how he could come up with a thing. I'm sure that he was called in afterwards and they were sort of like, oh my God, how stupid do you think you can be? Have you got no brain whatsoever? That type of meeting afterwards. But it's there on tape for all of us to see. But instead, what happened, instead of him being taken to court for being part of mass murder, he was awarded double the insurance policy, because the insurance just a few weeks before 9/11, as you know, were just changed so that it included terror acts. And since there were two planes officially, they said that there were two attacks and he got double the money. I mean, the absurdity of it all should just make your brain go into meltdown mode. But we're just here.
Well, it also tells you...
Check X Factor again and, Pop Idol and whatever Britney Spears had for breakfast. That's more interesting.
That's right. And I had a conversation with somebody going back a few years, and we talked about Building 7, and we talked about the whole, we're going to pull it. I said, well, how long do you think it takes? How much planning do you think it takes to have a controlled demolition, to plan it? Common sense would tell you that a controlled demolition has to be planned. And it wasn't planned in a couple of hours on 9/11 while two other towers were coming down. Those explosives were in that building, and they were in that building for God knows how long, in preparation to take it down.
Weeks, if not months of preparation.
Exactly.
This was a 47-story building. This was a massive building.
Right.
But it was also... There's a lot of evidence showing that the headquarters for the whole operation was in this building, that was where the whole thing was controlled from, carried out right in front of their eyes. and then they just got rid. It's like the police come and hit a drug unit somewhere, and a laboratory somewhere, and when the SWAT team comes in, they try to destroy the evidence and flush down the cocaine and so on. We see exactly the same here. They're covering up their tracks, blow the whole thing up. And so many of the companies in this building was also involved in a lot of very, very, very smelly business that when this building came down, case closed.
Right.
So very important to track down what was the companies there, all of these different agencies, the whole thing around this building, or also with the two towers, what was going on with all the gold. I mean, this was on so many different levels. It is a massive operation. And it's like a spider, the center of a massive spider web. So I think this is a crucial event to look into, but also see the absurdity of not waking up. I mean, just the fact that, like, I think it was 10 out of 19 so-called hijackers were still alive after it happened. That alone should make you think, hello. I mean, because really, if 10 of them, but how come they're so stupid to not, at least, if they're going to use their identities, at least kill them and bury them somewhere, and then, but no, they just took the identities of people that were alive. I don't get it. But when I look into false flag operations and inside jobs, they have a tendency to do very strange things, things that could look very stupid. I'm not sure why. One of the latest one is the Sandy Hook victim, Noah Posner, the little boy, 6-year-old, that was supposedly one of the victims in Sandy Hook. By the way, Sandy Hook, you check the FBI official website, Newport, where Sandy Hook is under, number of homicides, 2012, 0. Well, just on the official website of the FBI, you will see the truth right there in front of you. Clumsy. Do a better job next time, FBI. And then suddenly Noah Posner appears as one of the victims at the so-called mass shooting in Peshawar in Pakistan on the day 2 years later, 21st of December 2014, in Pakistan as one of the victims. What is that? Is it either they're super clumsy with no brain whatsoever, or considering us as totally asleep and brain dead, or are there some kind of, I don't know, mind manipulating, teasing type of thing? We're going to put it right there in front of you, and you're so stupid you won't even see it, or at least you won't react. I don't understand what is the mentality behind them giving these clues, or if it's just absolute arrogance or clumsiness.
I think it's a combination of things, Ole. My personal view is that they know most people can care less. They don't know anything about Sandy Hook. There's apathy and so on. So there's a whole section of people, no matter how much you put out there, they are just not going to care and focus. And then I believe they do leave these, what we consider to be clumsy oversights, but I'm not so sure that they are. I believe that they do those types of things so that it can take people like yourself and other researchers and other people who are looking at this and have you spend a lot of time trying to decipher and figure out what's going on here. So in other words, it's essentially a distraction to go send you over here while they continue to march down their road.
I've also heard theories about that they're very aware of karma. By putting it out there right in front of our eyes, if we do not react, then that will take the karma away from them, so that they don't have to deal with that, because we have a free will, and apparently we've chosen not to do anything about it. So there's no guilt on their part. I don't know if that's true, but it sort of makes sense in a twisted way.
I've heard that too. I don't personally buy into it because to me, it's still deception. Even though you think you have your tracks covered, at the end of the day, you are lying by omission, and you are engaged in acts of evil. So I don't think that alleviates you from karma, or what some people refer to as causality or cause and effect. I don't believe it. But that's me personally.
I totally agree with you, but then again, I have no idea.
Yeah,
I've never been able to understand the mentality of these people. I mean, I think like in the JFK movie, with Garrison is sitting with his team around the table, and he said, listen, folks, we have to wake up. Black is white and white is black. We are behind the mirror. This is how you have to see it. The logic. There's also something called intelligence services and counterintelligence. I think they're boosting their own halo, because when you look at it, I mean, intelligence, I wouldn't call it intelligence. Madness and counter madness would be a better word to describe the whole thing. But a counter thing, you have to see it from their point of view. They're playing ping pong with our brains. So sometimes it's diversion, sometimes it's manipulation, sometimes you can't have sort of like a template and say that's the way they work, because they do it from different aspects. Can I just say one thing? Do you know, like, we're talking about truth and denial and how they try to hit back and so on. I'm invited as a speaker to the Open Mind Conference in Amsterdam in a few days. I'm leaving on Thursday, and I'm a guy that try to totally fearlessly expose the truth wherever it takes me. I do not step on an ant. I do not, if I can avoid hurting anything, I will do that. I'm being called an anti-Semite. And there's this whole, and it's not only me. When you look at it, it's just like, it's almost funny, because they have prepared, they rented a school, beautiful school in Amsterdam, preparing for this. It's going to be myself, Ken O'Keefe, Ian Crane from England. You have Chris Bollin, who's very, very knowledgeable about 9/11, and Frank Rasmussen from Denmark. I mean, all of them beautiful people in my way of seeing it. Different approaches of how to do it, but very brave individuals who are very focused on liberating this world, to get it back in balance. And now the media has just started this whole thing about that it's a meeting for anti-Semites and the whole thing. So the school has pulled out and said, sorry, you cannot rent this locale if not some of these speakers withdraw. So this beautiful man, Willem, the organizer of the Open Mind, he said, absolutely not, thank you and goodbye. So he's just regrouping, so we're going somewhere else and just dance with the fire. But the thing is, we come in total peace, the only thing but powerful, because the truth is extremely powerful. And these are people, gloves up, there's no cotton around the whole thing. Truth delivered, boom, like this. It's just very interesting to see how when they cannot come up with anything else, it's the anti-Semite thing.
Of course.
It's like, what does that mean? And I've heard people that were talking about Building 7 coming down on, I think it was CNN or something like that, and suddenly they were called anti-Semite. What has that to do with anything? We're talking about a building coming down in a very, very odd way. Has that to do anything with religion or race or my point of view about other people? We're talking about a building coming down. But this is what they don't, when they haven't got any other type of ammo, that's the one they put out. Let's bring out the shotgun. Boom, there you go, anti-Semite going down.
But you know what,
Very
Ole?
odd.
In my view, again, I guess my perspective on this is that whole terminology, anti-Semite, is losing its impact, because I think more and more people are waking up to what is really going on there. And I'm just going to speak to the audience real quickly here, and we'll get back to the point. The audience has to distinguish between the Jewish faith and Zionism. And so in my experience, what's happened is whenever you go after the Zionist agenda, that's when you get tagged an anti-Semite. And so it's really incumbent upon folks that are seeking the truth that you do your research into Zionism. And that's all I'll say on that, because it's not a show about Zionism. But it's a very, very important fact that it needs to be understood.
But one thing that I find really funny as well is that, as far as I know, what I've studied is that the Semites were the Palestinian people, not the Jewish race. So the whole thing is just absurd. So what they're actually calling me and these other people is anti-Palestinians, and that's the last thing I am.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. A Semite is a race. being a Jew
It's
is a
a faith.
religion. It's a faith.
I know.
And they want
So
to they want to mix together. They want to just mash it together and say a race is a religion is a race. It just doesn't work like that, folks.
no.
So
And
you're
the way
exactly right.
for me, it's like I don't care if you're blue, white, yellow, upside down, fat, thin, Muslim, Sikh, Hindu. If you have a good heart and you treat your surroundings and your neighbor and your friends and people around you with love and respect, my God, you're the one. You're my man. I hug you. Mess around and you molest and torture and kill people, I will expose you. Doesn't matter who, where, the religion, I don't care. It is not right to do things like that. In your heart, this is not the way to go. And some of us, for some strange reason, I'm now in this position. I'm not really sure how I got to this position, but I'm part of exposing this. And it's done in the name of love. Love is the way. And when it comes to this whole thing about the anti-Semites, the Holocaust, things like that, this is in the belly of the beast. I would say you cannot go deeper into this whole thing. And because of them trying to stop the truth, I've recently done a 2-hour interview on Red Eyes Radio, redeyescreations.com, not because I want to expose the whole thing, but because they are trying to shut down people from even asking questions. Just raising a question surrounding the Holocaust will put you in jail in Germany and also in Holland, I think. So maybe
In many countries in Europe, they'll put you away.
Yeah.
It's a thought crime. You can't talk about it.
And the thing is, like, when you look at it, just the evidence itself, not anything else, but the numbers and how it was carried out, it does not make sense at all. And the official numbers, if you take like Maidan, I don't know how we got into this.
It's okay, keep going.
But you have like the official number for instance, like the Majdanek concentration camp. I've been to many of these concentration camp on sites, believing what I thought was the truth, the official story. Then the more I've looked into it, it's just like, oh my God, it does not match up at all. But the official number of Jewish citizens or Jewish people that were killed in Majdanek was, the official story was first 2 million. That has now come down to, I think it was in 2005, 78,000. And most of them, if not all, died from exhaustion or typhus. So look, just that one, and it's the same with so many wrong facts around Auschwitz and Treblinka and these things that we've been pumped with, that when you look, I'm just talking about the facts, nothing else. Just look at the numbers, look at the official numbers, and you will see that the official version that is being pumped all the time through media, through Hollywood and so on, has really nothing to do with the facts.
No, it doesn't. And in fact, it's very interesting you should bring this up, Ole, because I've done a couple of interviews with Deanna Spingola. And one of the topics we talked about was Eisenhower's World War II Rhine Meadow death camps, where over 1.5 million Germans were murdered in camps that were beyond anybody's comprehension. I mean, just you want to talk about anti-humanity and the conditions there, and Eisenhower ran those. And when we talk about Germans that were killed at the Rhine Meadow death camps, we're not talking about soldiers. We're talking about everybody. We're talking about civilians, women, children, and so on. And then I did a show back last month, well, April, I guess now we're in June. But Deanna and I talked about the Holocaust and the forbidden perspective. And she talks about how the numbers don't add up and so on. So I would suggest to everybody that to go to my YouTube channel, listen to those shows. They will challenge, for most people, what their belief system is because of all the indoctrination and entrainment that you've received via school and the movies and so on. And also, I don't know if you're familiar with Nick Kolostrom, Ole, but he did a book called Breaking the Spell, The Holocaust, Myth and Reality. I highly recommend that book. All fact-based, and it talks about the Holocaust, and it talks about the real numbers. So with that, I will probably be called an anti-Semite also, but so be it.
But listen, I'm right this very moment, I'm involved in a book project together with Jim Fetzer, Jim Mars, Sen Gardner, Nicholas Collerstrom, Jay Widener, Thomas Dalton,
Wow.
James A. Larson, Sterling Harwood, Robert Forreston, and some, all of them PhDs and doctors and scientists. And the book, it's just been released a few days ago. I did the cover and the layout for it, and it's called "And I Suppose We Didn't Go to the Moon Either." And it's this one. It's the first of 3 or 4 books where we take these different topics and just pull them apart by showing doompy 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 doom, step by step by step by step. And each different topic is covered by 4 different people. I just want to say this again, it's available on Amazon. It's called "And I Suppose We Didn't Go to the Moon Either" by Jim Fetzer, editor, and Mike Palasek. And one of the chapters in this is the Holocaust. And just going through the numbers, going through the so-called facts. And I must say, I thought that I knew a lot. I mean, I've been always really interested in history. I thought I knew the truth behind the Second World War and some. This is just like, it's been painful. It's like pulling my brain apart because my belief system has been so stuck in the official version. And then now I'm presented with all of this new information that is coming up to the surface, where I just have to say, I look at the evidence and I'm just like, oh my God, here we go again. I cannot believe it. And yet again, there it is right in front of us.
Yeah, everything's a lie, Ole. Just about everything that really matters is a lie.
I think especially since the killing of JFK, you will see that the same people appear again and again and again in the background. If it's the fake moon landing, people say, "Oh my God, you can't come up with that." There are documentaries made about these things. And who are the people? You have Rumsfeld in the background as a young man. Henry Kissinger is there. Bush. These people are right in the background. You have the different assassinations, same people. Kissinger. You have all of these military coups in South America, same people appearing with Operation 40 and other team of assassins, the whole Vietnam War thing. You go into 9/11, Oklahoma City. You have all of these things, and it's the same people popping up in the background again, like puppet masters pulling the strings. And also this thing where they use doubles, like the Bin Laden thing, where once again, you don't have to be very intelligent like that. When you look at the fact, he died 2001, and then you have the whole thing with doubles and how these different videos where he gets younger and younger, and then it's suddenly a totally different guy that doesn't even look like him. We're still buying it. And then officially he's killed whenever that was in, I can't even remember because it was just a massive big joke, the whole thing, and then they dump him out at sea, saying that's a Muslim tradition. Absolutely not. Or Pakistani tradition. I've been to Pakistan. That is absolutely not the way they do burials at all. But it's a very good way of getting rid of all type of evidence and so on. And then the whole team that carried out this operation have been killed. So they clean up the tracks after these things. It's just one after another, after another, after another. And you see that it's the same people behind it, so we shouldn't really be surprised when they carry the same type of operation out, because we've been buying it all the way.
Do you think, Ole, they're having difficulties these days pulling these events off? In other words, do you think that the awakening is at a point where it's giving them some consternation, that they have to step back and maybe recalculate some things or change tactics? Do you think there's pressure on them these days more so than in the past?
Big time. I humbly believe that I personally have stopped 2 false flag massacres, just myself. And only because I've learned how they think, because these people are not very imaginative, I think, many times. They have to stick to a certain template. and they can't vary the theme so many times without repeating it. And now they pulled it off so many times that they keep repeating the same and same. Also, according to Chip Tatum, the CIA whistleblower, he says they're on a very strict timeline, with many operation where they have in multiple steps, so that when they pull one thing up, the next one is on standby to move into position. So every time we mess it up, one of these things, it can really disturb the timeline. And this is what I'm totally focused on. Let's mess it up for them, Every time we mess it up for it, the better. And at the moment, I'm involved. I've just spent a whole week together with Max Egan, Zen Gardner. Zen Gardner flew here from Ecuador to come here to my home and my neighbor's home. Max came from Australia. There were people here from Germany and England and so on. And what we're trying to do is to forward an idea that Max have had for many years. We've been working for months to try and materialize this thing. And the whole idea is to start a movement by connecting, because there's so much division among groups. So many try to find the truth or do something, but they just end up fighting each other instead of really making a difference. And this thing is how to connect, it's not a political movement. It's a movement totally without leaders, but where we're creating a platform where people can join up, where people can find each other, where people can connect, but also where we will try to supply templates for many different variations of problems. So if you have a problem in your area with fracking, for instance, then how to approach these things in a way that can make a difference. Maybe I can get Sen and Max and other people on your program as well and present it in a way that was easier to understand. I just think that this is the time to join up instead of divide, instead of us seeing all of us discussing problem, just like the whole 9/11 movement where everybody's standing knocking their heads together about how the buildings came down, instead of saying they came down, great, one day we'll find out how they did it, and then maybe we can use this technology for the good of humanity. But until then, who benefited? Why was it done? Are they still around? And what is the agenda? And I would say yes to these answers. They are still around. They're using this and many, many other things big time. They're pushing us into this corner where they totally want to control us in a very nasty way. I don't want to scare people, but when you look at their agenda, it's right there out in the open. Read through Agenda 21, documents like that. It will blow your mind when you see the level of absolute madness that is behind it and where they want to go with this plan, because we are looking at a future that is so dark I can't even describe it if they get away with it.
Now, Ole, this grassroots collaboration that you were just talking about with Max and Zen and yourself, and by the way, I've had both Max and Zen on the show, so I would love to have you guys come back at some point.
Excellent.
Yeah, I would love to have you come back and talk about it. But it sounds like it is similar to or an offshoot to Max's original idea of the Full Circle Project.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
But it's changed over the years, because he wanted to start in one place. But the thing is, what is happening in the world is moving so fast, so we had to regroup and rethink and approach it from a different point. I just think this week we've been together here. It's just been absolutely amazing. It's lifted this whole thing and united it in an absolute stunning way. Well, it's scary times, but very exciting times as well, I think.
Well, I tip my hat to you guys, because what a lot of folks don't understand is how much time and effort and work it takes to pull all this stuff together. And so
it really does. It really does.
I know.
Also, and the thing is that what people don't understand is it's shit scary as well. We're not popular with the other ones. I mean, I'm going to Amsterdam now. I have no idea. I come to the airport. Hello, Mr. Police Officer, where's the nearest jail? I have no idea if that is what's going to go on. But the thing is to just dance with the fire, and come in peace, meet the whoever. If I'm going to be arrested, then I'm going to meet beautiful people that have absolutely no idea what they're doing, and then maybe by me meeting them, spending a night in their beautiful cell or whatever it is they want to invite me to, maybe by us becoming friends there, that would be another step towards a good thing. I have no idea. I'm just going to go there in peace. I'm going to hopefully leave there in peace as well. And, well, whatever.
Yeah, maybe you could
And
change one heart, right? It's that touch one person, then they touch somebody, and that's how you have that exponential growth in the awakening.
I just know if you're brave, it will inspire other. If you're brave, it will make things grow in a beautiful way. If you're a wimp, if you're a coward, it will go the other way around. It will go smelly and awful and so on. So this is a time just to step into the role. This time around, for some strange reason, as I said, I'm not really sure how I ended up in this role. I'm just an ordinary guy, or I used to be. Now I'm not anymore, because I've stepped into what is my role. It takes a lot of courage. I'm happy to do that. And the focus is love, compassion, forgiveness. Let's move this world to the next beautiful, beautiful level. But we're up against the dragon. It's like in the old stories, the young knight has to go to win the heart of this young maiden, or whatever, the princess. You have to go up to the mountain and meet the dragon. Well, we're up against the dragon big time. But I would say it looks so scary, but I think the dragon is already killed, and what we're seeing is the tail just going totally wild, in death cramp, just hitting everything, trying to just scare the living with Jesus out of us. But it's already too late. And I really do not envy the people behind this thing, because they are in a situation where they need to move forward fast, because so many people are waking up in the thousands, I would say, daily, thousands and thousands. I get emails from all over the world saying the exact same things. It's the time to awake. We're waking. It's beautiful. You've taken away the hate in my. I don't want revenge anymore. I just want to move forward. It's just happening all over.
Well, people just want a productive, decent life, a quiet, productive, decent life where they can spend with their friends and their family and love. That's what they want. People don't want all this turmoil and all this dysfunction and all this hate and all this anger and all this war. It's just not in the human DNA to think that way or to behave that way. So I think that's contributing to the awakening too, Ole. Is I think a lot of people now, they've reached in a little deeper and they've gotten to their soul, and the soul's like, hello, it's time to do things differently.
I totally agree. And also one thing that, no, because they need to move fast forward, but they can't move too fast, because then it will wake too many up. So
Yeah.
they're like, and this is also where the tension comes in, where the sloppiness and the nerves comes in when they pull off these false flags in such a sloppy way sometimes, It's because they're freaked out, I think, and stressed for time, and we knock out the timeline. They have to get it back on time, because if they don't, because the thing is, you stop or you diffuse a false flag maybe in Europe somewhere, it can totally affect what is going on in Ukraine or in China and so on, because they're connected. It's the same power, very brutal power, that is trying to move forward on so many different fronts at the same time.
Yeah.
So
In other words, I think what you're saying is they have like a project plan, and it says we've got to do this and then move to this and then move to this. So if even one gets disrupted, they have to go back and change the plan. They have to alter the plan to make adjustments, and that sets them back.
I know. This is the beauty of the whole thing,
Yeah.
So, and this is where Chip Tatum, he said that I was being brought to Copenhagen, and just by me having spent 30 years of studying false flag operation made me see that, oh my God, this location that the Bilderberg meeting where it was planned to take place, that was the awful place for a meeting for high security. It was the absolute worst. There was no possible way of securing that thing. but at the same time, it was the perfect place for the false flag. So I managed to go out and media pump out before it happened, and hopefully stopped it. Later, I've been sent information from people in Denmark confirming that this was what was planned. But Chip said that by stopping that one, because it seemed like they had aimed that one to be blamed to blow up the hotel where the Bilderbergers were meeting. I mean, they were not going to be there. There would be other people that would be killed in there. But to blame this whole thing on the truth movement, then use that as a tool to shut down the internet, saying, oh my God, this truth movement, here they are. They say they're peaceful. Look at them. They blew this poor innocent group of nice Bilderbergers up and killed them, massacred them. Because of this, the internet is where this type of terrorist information is spreading. So therefore, this will justify us shutting it down. And while we're at it, we will just ban all possibilities for people to meet in groups or demonstrate. You know, they're doing this in many different countries at the same time. And so by stopping that one, diffusing that one, Chip said exactly this thing about Ukraine. He thinks that this thing that messed it up and that it got messed up in Ukraine and other places was due to this thing because the timeline is tight for them.
Now, Ole, going to Chip for a second, is he fearful of where he's at, the things he's saying and the things he's letting out of the bag? Because he was in that inner circle, right? I mean, and now he's not there anymore, but he's spilling the beans with regard to how the inner workings, how they work. So how does he deal with that?
I asked him because I find for me to meet, Chip Tatum is the closest a real James Bond you can get, I would say. This is a man that was given a license to kill by George Bush Sr. He was part of taking out, he did 17 different assassinations together with his hit team and so on. He was a black op assassin, a Night Stalker pilot, one of the pilots in the Iran-Contras. He was a deep cover CIA agent for 25 years. He was part of false flag operation. I mean, he was the whole shebang, So this is not just any amateur we're talking about. So I asked him about that exact thing. And he said that he had lived a full life. There was not a lot of things he regretted. He said that he took responsibility for what he had done. He knew that he knows that his time will come, and he's ready for it. He said, he's now 65, I think 64, 65. He's just become a dad. He just had a little son, a daughter,
okay.
Yeah, a 2-year-old or something like that. And he said, I've had a good life, but I know that my time will come, and he's ready for it. So he's fearless when it comes to that. And this is the thing with people like Sen, Max, myself, other people that put themselves out there on the line. This is the really, there's a price there. There's a price tag that might be the end of I know that I'm putting myself on the line. I've been part of exposing two of modern times' worst serial killers and I do not think that I'm very popular in some circles, but then again, as long as I'm doing everything I can and I know the intention, and the intention is healing and love, I will accept whatever comes, and I'm fine with that. I really would like to stay here for a lot longer, but I know that this might be part of the game, and so be it.
Yeah. You have to live your life in truth. You have to pursue the truth. You have to do that. You have to. Otherwise, what does it all mean in the end? So the truth is very, very important. And guys like yourself and Zen and Max and Ken and you
Mike, and you.
Well,
listen, Mike, listen, you are there in the States. We are out here on the outside. You're the one very brave at the moment, so I salute you for what you're doing. And I think you're creating a beautiful, fantastic platform for this type of information to get out there, because you're doing it out of it. I know you are concerned. I know you're scared to some extent. I would be too. But you're doing it. You're delivering it in such a beautiful way, I think. So I take off my hat for you.
Well, thank you, Ole. I appreciate that. And like you had mentioned before, you're just you. I'm just me. I'm just Mike, and I'm just trying to get information out there to get people to awaken. It's all I'm doing, and it does get a little scary sometimes. You know, you see what's going on in the world, and you see that these people who are in control, they take no prisoners. You
No,
know, no, they don't.
they're hard hitting.
That's
They
right.
are.
That's right.
Yeah. Do you know, like, there's this Jade Helm thing coming up, which I think is what they're planning is the big crescendo. You know, the the Wagner whole Wagner thing, where everything will come into a crescendo, and boom, that will be the end of the U.S. as we know it. But the way I see it is like they're pushing it so fast, and they're forgetting that all of these people in uniforms are human beings. They're somebody's son, somebody's sister, somebody's mother, brother, and so on. And they are waking up as well. I'm in touch with different people, even generals and so on, where officially they can't show that they are waking up, but they are. They're becoming more and more aware of these things. And I just believe, you know, when the big crescendo, when the guy with the cymbals in the back that are going, yung, ba-dum, pow, just when he's about to do that, a fly will land on his nose and make him sneeze and just get it totally out of rhythm and will just backfire on them totally because they pushed it too far. It is so out of balance, so mad, the whole thing. We're not buying it anymore. Thank God that they're so extreme. Otherwise, this might go on.
What do you think they're doing with Jade Helm, Ole? What exactly do you think is going on there?
I have no idea. I tell you, one, I really think that they see that they're running, the time is running out for them. So they need to push it, push it, push it.
This is conjecture, but what do you think that they're looking to have happen possibly? That there's some kind of reaction by the population, and any
It is,
thoughts on
I
that?
would say, absolutely not an exercise. This has nothing to do with an exercise, in my
Okay,
opinion. But I don't know enough to talk about it because I don't want to spread fear.
I hear you.
Uh, at the same time, do you know, every time a dictator is trying to control a population, they need fear. It is through fear that they control. And I think that just, you know, like in Russia, when they had these big parades with cannons and rockets and everything on the Red Square, here we are again, you know. And during the Second World War, you know, like sometimes they had like whole airstrips and stuff like with what looked like army planes parked out, but these were made of plywood. They were not real planes. They were made of plywood, but looked there to impress and also to divert the attention of the enemy and so on. Here we are, we see all of these long rows of whatever it is, tanks and so I have not seen them myself, but nowadays with the technology and CGI and whatever it's called, are they there just to inflict fear? You know, I will take it one step further. You look at the NSA, there are all of these photos from the outside of these buildings. They look massive. You cannot see into them. I bet you, I have no idea if I'm totally wrong. I would not be surprised if like two-thirds of these buildings are empty, just built to look impressive, you know.
Hmm.
We control you. We have the. This is also why there's some whistleblowers like Snowden. I don't want to discredit him. Or I don't know enough about this person. At the same time, that type of information that is leaked out there saying that they have technology that can control every breath you take, every step you do, every word you say, maybe it's just a big psyop, you know,
Yeah.
because maybe they do not. And but we're being pumped with all of this thing. I would say to just bend down, bend over, head down in the dirt, and just give up. There's no, you know, they can even read my emails. They can even, you know, through track me here, track me there. They see me with satellite. They have drones. They can, you know, just to push you down into a corner and just give up. I say let's go totally the opposite way until I know that I don't have any power left. I'm gonna dance.
You know, I did a show with James Corbett last year, and we talked about that. We talked about the fact that perhaps this is all a psyop to have people self-surveil themselves. Thus, you censor yourself because you believe that they do have all these capabilities, and you're being told that you're being spied on every which way from Sunday, emails, text messages, your web surfing, your phone calls, and so on. And so what do? Some people will take a step back and say, oh, I'm not going to say that. Oh, I'm not going to write that. And that's self-surveillance.
Totally. And this is how they do it.
Yeah.
This is how they turn so that you will become an informer of your neighbor out of fear that they will inform of you, or that anything you will say will be heard or whatever. And James Corbett, I love this guy. I mean, I have big respect for this guy. So if he says this as well, hats off. And then suddenly it becomes really interesting, because then we're up against the Wizard of Oz,
Right.
which I think this whole thing is all about, for us to pull away the curtain and see that this extremely powerful elite, as they call themselves, is just an old fart with a microphone and a massive amplifier pumping out propaganda.
Yeah.
But it is like they say that they are so powerful and they have all this high technology and high tech weapons, high tech. I mean, you look at these guys, okay, they're white haired, they're nice looking, and so on. They know exactly what you want to hear, so they can say that without meaning it. But when it comes to all of these high tech things, because we're talking about technology controlling us, couldn't even install a program on a laptop if you didn't help them, many of them, I tell you. They're good at manipulating people and lying and deceiving, but they're not into high tech. Neither have they got courage, because most of them are absolute cowards. So to pull off all of these awful wars and drones and surveillance, and they need us to protect the system from ourselves. So it's only because of us that they pull this whole thing off. It's without us. If we say, no, sorry, I'm not up for it anymore, it will just come to an absolute stop.
That's right. And you talk about cowards, and the audience should think about, when's the last time a Kissinger went to war? When's the last time a Clinton went to war, or a Bush, and so on. I mean, you have to think about the fact that they do look at themselves as the ruling elite, and that, they have us to go do those types of nasty things. The point I'm trying to make is you really have to get your head wrapped around the fact that this is the model they have in place. You're there to do all of their dirty work and all their bidding. So when you decide to stop doing that, their whole game plan comes apart and the house of cards falls. So just continue to march forward and think that way, and little by little, we'll win this thing.
For sure. And I don't think little by little. I think it's what you call exponential. It's not linear, this development. It is a landslide. It is like it starts like a little ball and it just grows, and you cannot stop it.
An avalanche, yeah.
Avalanche, that's the one.
Oh boy, we really covered all bases today.
We did. No, but this is the thing. I love it. No, I'm just. Would it be okay? I don't know. I wrote a song in '94. I think maybe I wrote the lyrics or read the lyrics to you once before. Did I?
Yeah, but do it again, because it's a great song, and there are great lyrics, and it's what I do, Ole, whenever you do that, is I tack the song onto the end of the show so people can listen. Just so you know.
Well, thank you. Excellent. No, because I just think with a very few lines, I somehow managed to pinpoint a lot of these things. So would it be okay if I just read it?
Absolutely.
It's called From Prison to Paradise. This is exactly where we're going. From prison, where most of us are not even, we don't even know that we're living like slaves. We don't need to live in all this stress and pressure and depression and despair. No need at all. But anyway, from prison to paradise. It goes like this. Once upon a time, in a place not far from here, there was so much loneliness, despair, and oh so much fear. Darkness ruled all over the land. There were lightning in the sky, causing wars and separation, with no one knowing why. These evil times raised leaders, disguised as kind and true, hiding the truth in misty fog so only very few people knew, controlled by an elite few, manipulating you and me, closing out the light and power that can make us all be free. Wake up, we gotta wake up. Wake up, wake up, we gotta wake up now. Forced by invisible powers, demanded to conform into shapes unknown to mankind, making him totally abnormal. Drowned in debts and sorrows, blaming others for their lot, made man believe to be inferior, feeling tiny like a dot. But then came times of change, covering countries and their towns. Few became many, and soon the prison walls came down. Starting with the men in the mirror staring right back into their eyes, understanding that this was a chance to stop those hideous lies. Unhappiness is merely an illusion of misery, based on brainwash and a misconception of true reality. From now on, let's build bridges between our souls and hearts, so we together can rejoice when the final change comes to its start. Wake up, we gotta wake up. Wake up, we gotta wake up now. Turning prison into paradise may seem too much to achieve, but believe me, it only takes one strong spirit to be free. The true power of a pyramid is never ever at the top. Instead, it's we the people that can make this global game stop. Did you get it? Wake up, we gotta wake up now.
That's a great song, Ole. What a lot of folks don't know is you're also a musician, and you are a great musician. Because I listen, I listen to your songs, and you don't talk about it. But I'm going to include the link to your music also, because I listened to all your songs and I thought to myself, this man knows how to write music. So,
well, thank you so much. Do you know, the thing is, making music is everything I want to do, but then all of these things, and I thought, here I am instead, and I just feel, okay, let's join up, let's save the world, and on the other side, we can have a beer and let's make some music. You know, it's like I'm really longing to get back into the studio, but apparently we'll have to wait a little while.
We would rather write music, folks.
Yep. And one day maybe I would love to meet up with you in the studio, Mike.
Oh, it'd be fun. It would be great. Yeah.
And do you know one thing that I loved with Zen and Max? I mean, we were here, all, I must say, warriors of truth and light. It was such an honor to be with them. But at the same time, you know, we had so much fun, and we were jamming as well. You know, Max was playing the guitar, I was playing blues harp, and Zen was sitting just making up lyrics as we went. I mean, so funny. We were just cracking up. And it was just so beautiful we're going into the darkest of darkness of these awful corners, and just with all that laughter and love and music and wine. It was just fantastic, the whole thing.
Max is a great guitar player. A lot of people don't know that either. He talks about being a musician, but I've listened to a couple of the tracks that Max has played on, and he's an excellent, excellent guitar player.
He is, because in my world, people say I play the guitar, and okay, but then there are musicians. In my world, big difference.
Right.
Yeah. Max is a musician, that is for sure, and it was an absolute pleasure to listen to and be around, you know.
Yeah. So, Ole, before we wrap up, could you tell us a little bit about your website?
My website is lightonconspiracies.com. Very handpicked word, not violence or hatred or revenge on conspiracy. Light on conspiracies. Total fearless exposure of what's going on in the name of love. As many of us in this situation that are putting ourselves on the line, we are on our knees financially, more or less. So I would say anyone who listens to this, please, whatever it is, what type of research it is you respect and that you think that this is the way to go, please support them. Please support Mike. Please support me. Please support Max. Whoever it is that goes the road that you believe in. You might think that you cannot make a difference. To us, it's a massive difference, because we are sort of like, we're so willing to go out there. I'm so willing to, wherever, you know, if it's to meet up with gang members and praise them as real warriors, turning them into strong people, in aiming them in the right direction, or if it's going to right into the front line, or if it's meeting soldiers or prisons, whatever it is, I'm so willing, and so is Max, and so is Sen, and so is so many other beautiful people. But it's like we're in a vehicle and there's very little gas in the tank. So if you can help us There are donate buttons on most websites of our websites. I have a newsletter, a membership area. Please, I so appreciate it. I tell you. And the thing is, we're in the same boat, all of us. So there's no personal gain for me or no one else. It's not like an ego trip. We're in this together, and we need to get the boat in motion. It's just like they say, the rudder won't work until the boat is in motion. So we need to really set this in motion.
You know, I was talking to
And
Sophia Smallstorm just a couple of days ago, and Sophia and I got on this discussion point only that this work is not a profitable endeavor. You know, it's not a lot of money.
it's
So
that
people
is
need to
true.
know that.
Oh my God, I wish. But do you know what? I've been thinking about starting to do like terror tours, almost, to go to the sites where these things happen, false flag operations and assassinations, and then on site do guided tours. I've already started doing that. I've done it in Stockholm where the Swedish Prime Minister was assassinated. I'm going to do more this summer. It's like a between 4 and 7 hour walk around that. It is absolutely mind blowing what happened, that one. I did it in Copenhagen after the latest shootings in Copenhagen, which, by the way, I was able to publicly predict 1 month before it happened. Not because I'm clairvoyant, but because I know how they think, I know the plan, I know so. But I just want to say, when we talk about false flag, if I can please advise people on how to deal with these things. When you do make a false flag, it is there to secretly create a problem. So to get the reaction from us, the normal people, the reaction they want is the emotional, oh my God, this is awful, something needs to be done. And then they will serve us the solution. Solution is the same one every single time. You have to pay, you have to give up your rights, you have to give your freedom, you have to accept more and more surveillance, militarized police, all of these things. But to pull off a false flag, one of the ingredients, just like when you make a pie, you need eggs, I think, and milk and whatever. In a false flag, you need a drill. A drill is there to be able to get the vehicles in position, explosives in position, trick the patsy if that is necessary, to get into the position where he can be blamed for it and so on. So a drill is very important for them so that they can do this without normal people interfering. And normally they go out and publicly say, on Wednesday evening, we're going to have a drill, a mass shooting drill in this and this school for your protection. I would say the next time you hear or see anything like this, that on Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever it is, bring your friends, bring your family, go down there, bring your cameras, your mobile thing, and film them even before they even set it up, because this might be a drill for your protection, but it might very well be something with a more sinister agenda. And if we show them and make it very obvious before they even start setting the whole thing up that they're being observed, it will give them cold feet. They will pull back because they won't be able to get away with it. So don't go there alone and film it, because then you will just might be arrested or something. Go in a group, spread out, film from all different directions, and then with live stream maybe up on YouTube. If nothing else, if it turns out to be a false flag or so-called terror act, you will have incredible visual evidence before and after the event, which for someone like me would be absolute. The value would just be incredible. But even more so, let's stop it, by exposing them before they even get it going. Like if you even think about touching that button to get that bomb explode, to make that bomb explode, we know it. We see you. Don't even think of it. Get a life, go home, take care of your kids and family, and start thinking about the future together instead of destroying for the rest of us. So totally nonviolent, expose them before it even happened, so that instead of always being one step behind, we will be one step ahead and mess up the timeline. And one thing that I love was during the occupation of Denmark during the Second World War, my dad and my family members were involved in the resistance movement and so on. And one of the things they did was that they took a spoonful of sugar and pour it into the tank of these big tanks and so on. And the sugar in these big war machines totally destroyed the engine. So just a spoonful of sugar can stop a massive tool of death. So let's just put some sugar in there and dance with the fire.
And that concludes our interview with Ole Dammegård, and I hope you enjoyed the discussion as much as I did. Ole's work is completely self-funded, so if you could take a moment and visit his website, lightonconspiracies.com, and consider donating or sponsoring his work, it would be greatly appreciated. You can also purchase Ole's books at his website, including the highly acclaimed Coup d'etat in Slow Motion. And as always, I'd like to thank everyone for listening and visiting the blog. You can get to the blog by typing in sageofquayradio.blogspot.com or simply head over to our hub website at sageofquay.com. Also, if you get a moment, please visit laboroflovemusic.com to listen to my album, Leaving Dystopia. And remember, live in truth and always serve creation. It's really that simple. And to sign off, here's Ole's song, From Prison to Paradise. See everyone next week. Be safe, enjoy, and God bless.
It's our future.
Once upon a time, in a place not far from here, there was so much loneliness, despair, and oh so much fear. Darkness ruled all over the land, there was lightning in the sky, causing wars and separation, with no one knowing why. These evil times raised leaders, disguised as kinda true, hiding the true and misty fogs only very few people knew. Controlled by an elite few, manipulating you and me, closing out the light and power that will make us all be free. When